Hey guys, this is Mr. Harrah. I hope you're doing good. I want to go over the assignments for the first week, and I want to go over the Brain Notes PowerPoint with you. So give me a second to pull up the assignments for the first week here to show you. All right. So my first, third, and fourth period classes are just me. And then my sixth and seventh period classes are Mr. Mitchell and myself. So in the instructions, you'll see that it says Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Harrah. I put that in there for my sixth and seventh period classes, right? So here's the assignments for week one. So week one assignments, biology. All assignments are due Monday, April 6th. So you have 1 week to complete all of these assignments, right? Assignment one is the brain notes. So for the brain notes, you're going to watch this video. The brain notes are after I go over these assignments in this video. The brain notes are toward the end. So watch the brain notes YouTube video. We don't need to go over this because obviously found your way to the video, right? Once you've watched the video, then you're going to complete the Brain Notes quiz. The quiz will show up in your feed on Edsby. So you should see something like this. It'll say Mr. Harrah or Mr. Harrah and Mr. Mitchell or Mr. Mitchell. And it'll say biology, and it's going to say Brain Notes quiz or Brain Notes test. You can click this little button here to take the test. You'll need to take it within that first week. That's how long I'll leave the window open. And then it will automatically grade and load into Edsby as a quiz grade, right? And you're going to use the brain notes to complete that quiz. So assignment one, watch this video, watch the brain notes. The second part of assignment one is to take the brain notes quiz, which will show up in your feed like you see here. Assignment two is the brain drawing. So you're going to use the brain notes. I want you to draw on a piece of paper a side view of the brain as you see here. So this would be, you can see my cursor here, would be the front of the brain. And then where my cursor is here, this would be the back of the brain. So this is the side of a person's head. That's a side view. You're going to draw a picture of a side view of the brain. You're going to label all the parts of the brain from the notes and color code them, the colors listed next to the names below. So I have the parts that you have to color and label below. We'll get to that in just a second. Step three, draw arrows to all the parts and list each part's function using the video notes. So you can see here from this picture I pulled off the internet, they've got the parts color coded. You're not going to use these colors. Wait just a second, I'll tell you the colors. And they've got them labeled, the names of the parts. And then I want you under the names to write what the function is, what that part does from the notes that we're going to do here in a minute. So step three, here are the parts of the brain that you're going to label and color code. The cerebellum is going to be green. The brainstem is made up of three parts. I want you to draw a bracket showing the whole brainstem. You'll see when I do the notes what I mean here by drawing a bracket. You'll see in just a minute. And then you're going to color code the three parts of the brainstem. The pons is going to be blue. The medulla oblongata is going to be tan. And the spinal cord will be brown. The cerebrum is a larger part of the brain that's made up of four smaller parts. So you don't have to color the cerebrum a certain color because you're going to color the four parts of the cerebrum. And you'll see what I mean when you look at the notes. The frontal lobe is going to be purple. The parietal lobe will be black. The temporal lobe will be yellow. And the occipital lobe will be pink. So draw a side view of the brain, label the parts with their names. Under the names, write what they do, their function, and you're going to color code each part according to what it says here. Step four, how do you turn in this assignment? I want you to take a picture of your drawing with your phone, I want you to look at the picture and make sure that you can read it and see everything. Then you're going to email it to me if you are in first period, third period, or fourth period. If you are in sixth or seventh period, you're going to email it to Mr. Mitchell or to me, either one. So that is assignment 2, the brain drawing. Assignment 3 is the neuron reading and drawing. You're going to read the article about neurons, so you're going to follow this link. This will all be posted on EDSB. In the neuron article, there is a cartoon picture of a neuron, like a drawing. You're going to use that drawing to draw your own neuron on a piece of paper. You're going to label the parts from the picture. In the article, they have the parts labeled. And then step 4, draw arrows to each part and list its function. Look at the article, read about its function, and list its function under the names of the parts. If you don't have colored pencils, if you can't get colored pencils or markers, you need to come up with some kind of your own way of coding these parts. Come up with your own key. You can use pens or pencils, put different patterns on different parts, but you need to make like a key over to the side to show me which part is, colored with a different pattern. Be creative, but make sure you have a key. So step 5 for this assignment, how do I turn in this assignment? Same thing as the brain picture. You're going to take a picture of your drawing with your phone, look at the picture, make sure it looks good. I need to be able to read everything. It doesn't do any good to turn it in, to send me a picture or Mr. Mitchell, if we can't read the names of the parts, we can't read the functions. Make sure we can see it. Then email it to me if you're in first, third, or fourth period. If you are in sixth or seventh, email it to Mr. Mitchell or to me. So that is assignment 3, the neuron reading and drawing. Assignment 4, this is the last assignment for this set of assignments for this week, is posting an interesting statement about the brain and replying to someone's statement about the brain. So there's 2 parts to this assignment. You have to create a post and you have to reply to someone's post. Just to let you know, the posting along with your reply to someone else's post and me keeping track of you logging into EDSB every day will be your attendance for this class, for this week. You'll have an assignment like this every week that will be your attendance along with me keeping track of you logging into EDSB. You should be logging into EDSB every day, and I'm going to keep track of that. Plus, for this assignment, you'll get points for the assignment, for creating your post and replying to the post. So, step 1, look up something strange and interesting about the brain. Examples would be sleepwalking, dreaming, hallucinations, strange brain disorders. There are all sorts of interesting things that you can find about the brain. I really like this part of this unit on the brain because the brain is so mysterious and interesting. So you shouldn't have any trouble finding something interesting about the brain to create your post. Step 2, create a new post on your biology classes page. So go to our page, and then under where I've posted these instructions that we're looking at right now, I want you to reply and create a post with a statement about something interesting that you looked up about the brain. Your post needs to be a minimum of 1 sentence, 1 complete sentence with your interesting fact, and this is important. In your interesting fact, you must use 1 vocabulary term from the brain notes. Let me give you an example. I'm just going to make something up that's not true. Let's say that you read about sleepwalking, and you read that sleepwalking originates in the medulla oblongata, which is part of the brain. Then your post could be something like, I read that sleepwalking originates in the medulla oblongata and that 50% of people sleepwalk. That could be a post right there. Don't just tell me the part of the brain that it comes from. Tell me something else, something interesting that you read about, right? So create your post, make sure you use a vocabulary term, and then step 3 is the second part of this assignment. You need to reply to someone's interesting statement about the brain. Your reply needs to be a full sentence. So you can't just say, cool, interesting, you know, not just one word, a full sentence actually saying something about their statement. When you reply, you've probably seen this before, so that we know who you're talking to, use the @ symbol and then the person's name. So for example, @Matt, I thought that was really interesting. My little brother sleepwalks and it creeps me out. So @Matt, everybody knows I'm talking to Matt. I didn't just say that I thought it was interesting. I also told Matt something that about my little brother, that he sleepwalks. So something like that is what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. Come up with your own, but something like that. Okay? So you can pause, rewind, look back at these instructions. You've got 4 assignments for this week, and they're pretty easy. 2 drawings, labeling the drawings, you know, reading an article, creating a post. It's really not too bad. I'm trying to ease you into this online learning, all right? Make sure you read the instructions carefully, but if you have any questions, email me and I will get back to you right away. All right, so let's take a look at the brain notes. Let me pull those up. Give me a second to pull up the brain notes. All right, here we go. All right, so in these notes, we're going to talk about the parts of the brain, what they're called, and what they do. So this first slide has some interesting information about the brain. You might already know this, but your brain has a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. The left hemisphere we can see on this side here, left hemisphere, and then the right hemisphere is on the right side, right? Where it says anterior, this is the front of the person's head. So this would be like the person's forehead. And then where it says posterior, I'm circling with my cursor, this would be the back of the person's head, right there. The left side of the brain is responsible for spoken and written language, numerical and scientific skills, the ability to use and understand sign language, and reasoning. So it's more of the analytical, you know, mathematic, scientific side of the brain, the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain is responsible for music and artistic awareness, space and pattern perception, recognition of faces and emotional content of facial expressions, like reading how someone feels, generating, emotional content of language, generating mental images to compare spatial relationships. So, you know, if someone is good at drawing, their right side of the brain may be more in control or more developed. They can look at things and they can judge how big it is and how big it is to make on a drawing or something like that. People can tend to be more left-brained or more right-brained. And if you wanted to, you could look up a quiz online to see which you are more of left or more of right. And it is possible that some people are like, you know, equal both. So left brain and right brain. All right, brain notes. Here we go. The cerebellum, you can see here in this picture of the brain, this is the front of the person's head right here. And then this is the back of the person's head. And then in green right here is the cerebellum. The cerebellum regulates posture and balance for complex tasks. It allows for muscle coordination. It compares intended movements with actual movements, and it adjusts. So when you're growing up, you're learning to walk and things like that, you're watching other people, your parents or other adults, to see how they walk, and then you're trying to do it yourself. Your cerebellum is helping you to compare what you wanted to do with what you actually did, and it helps you get better at it. The same thing with sports. When you start playing a sport, you're not very good at it. Everybody has to start somewhere. You get better over time. Your cerebellum helps you with that. It compares what you wanted to do with what you actually did. And the cerebellum, I don't know if I said it already, is going to be in green. Make sure that you're looking at the colors on the instructions and not just looking at the colors on this PowerPoint, because the colors on this PowerPoint, some of them are wrong, like the ones in this slide. Don't use the colors in this slide, right? Look at the instructions. So this slide shows you some more parts of the brain, and what we're focusing on for this slide is the brain stem. The brain stem is made up of 3 parts. It's made up of the pons, the medulla oblongata, and the spinal cord. So you can see this bracket here that I'm outlining with my cursor. That whole thing is the brain stem. And I want you to label it like that on your drawing with a bracket to show me the brain stem. And then individually, I want you to label the 3 parts. So the pons, the medulla oblongata, and then the spinal cord. You're going to label the 3 parts, and then you're going to write under each of those 3 parts what they do. And we're going to go over what they do on the next slide. Don't use these colors here. Don't use those colors there. Use the colors on the instructions. All right, so the brain stem is made up of these 3 parts. The first part is the medulla oblongata, and it controls the rate and force of your heartbeat. It controls reflexes such as swallowing, vomiting, coughing, and sneezing. A hard blow to this area could be fatal. If someone got hit in their medulla oblongata, it could stop their heart from beating. They could die. The second part of the brainstem is the pons. It serves as a bridge carrying signals from one region of the nervous system to another. And the third part of the brainstem is the spinal cord, which is a thick bundle of nerves that runs from the brain down to the bottom of the spine, and it runs through the vertebrae. So your spine is made up of these bones that stack together that have a hole through the middle of them, and your spine runs through the middle of that hole, or your spinal cord runs through the middle of that hole, through the vertebrae, all the way down your spine. All right, the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It contains 4 different lobes. So this picture on the left here that's kind of in gold or yellow, this is the cerebrum. This whole top part of the brain is the cerebrum. Don't confuse cerebellum with cerebrum. They are 2 separate things. You can see the cerebellum is right down here we talked about earlier. The cerebrum is the whole top part of the brain up here that I'm circling with my cursor. The cerebrum is made of 4 parts: the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. We're going to go over what they do on the next slide. And do not use these colors. I just pulled this picture off the internet, so don't use those colors. Use the colors on the instructions. All right. The frontal lobe is having to do with decision-making, problem-solving, and planning. And we are going to color that in purple. The parietal lobe is concerned with the reception and processing of sensory information from the body, and we're going to color that in black. The temporal lobe is having to do with memory, emotion, hearing, and language, and we're going to color that in yellow. And the occipital lobe is concerned with vision, and we're going to color that in pink. It says raspberry. Raspberry is pink. On the instructions, it says pink. All right? And that is the last slide. Let's go back one. So I will post all this on Monday morning. You're going to see it Monday morning. You'll have a week to get it all done. You've got those 4 assignments. Let me pull up the assignment instructions again so I can show you one more time. So you'll have a week to get these 4 assignments done. It's really not too bad. Make sure you follow the instructions. Email me any questions, but make sure you've read the instructions carefully so that, you know, I don't get too many emails, right? But if you're still confused, then email me or Mr. Mitchell if you're in 6th and 7th period and ask us your question. We'll get back to you right away. We have also emailed your parents and let your parents know that they can email us on Edsby, or they can email us at the district email anytime, and we will get back to them right away. I hope you are all doing good. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. And pretty soon, before you know it, we'll be back in the classroom and we'll be back to normal. So I hope you're having a good day. And I hope that I will see you soon.